So my best friend is literally screaming at my boyfriend in the middle of the street, like hysterical, crying, yelling that he's a sociopath and I need to break up with him. And here's the weird part, my boyfriend. He never shows emotion, ever, like stone face always. She just met him for the first time, and now she's losing it but refuses to tell me why. I'm standing there totally confused, people are staring, and neither of them will give me an answer. What the hell happened? Okay, so let me back up a bit and tell you about Blake. We met back when we were both 17, working at some retail store. And the very first thing I noticed about him, the guy never smiled, like ever. He had this serious, stoned look on his face constantly. I don't know how else to describe it, but just imagine Eminem in his prime, or Shadow from Sonic, that permanent, serious expression. That was Blake. And honestly, most people thought it was weird. Our coworkers kept warning me to stay away from him. They'd be like, something's off about that guy. But here's the thing, Blake was always respectful, always kind. He never raised his voice, not once, throughout our whole time working together. So I didn't really care that he didn't show emotions. We ended up getting along great. I'm pretty loud and extroverted, by the way, and he just kind of put up with me, which is sweet, right? Over time, we got really close, and every once in a while, and I mean rare, I'd catch him smiling or even laughing, and I'd tease him about it every single time. It became our little thing. Fast forward to my 22nd birthday. Now, my birthday is on Valentine's Day, which sounds cute, but is actually kind of annoying because everything's more expensive. Anyway, Blake calls me and says he needs me to come over, says it's serious. So I'm thinking, oh no, something's wrong. I get to his house, and I swear it looked like a 1970s rom-com exploded in there. Decorations everywhere, flowers, and Blake was dressed up nice, like really nice. And then he gives me this long speech. He's talking about how much our friendship meant to him, how grateful he was that we met. And then he asks if I want to be his girlfriend. I remember just standing there in shock. It was the first time I'd ever seen Blake that vulnerable. He still had his cute, serious stone face on, but I could tell he was extremely nervous, like hands shaking nervous. And of course I said yes. I mean, how could I not? We've been a happy couple ever since, 3 years now. And yeah, he's still not very emotional day to day, but that's just who he is. It doesn't mean he doesn't care. Actually, I think he cares more than most people. He just shows it differently. So when my best friend Sarah came back to town after years away, I was excited for them to finally meet. She'd never met Blake in person because she moved away right after high school. She'd only seen pictures, and honestly, she already thought it was weird that he never smiled in photos. She once told me I shouldn't date someone who doesn't want to be happy around me. I brushed it off, told her that's just how he is. He's actually really sweet. But I was excited. I thought, once she meets him, she'll get it. Right. Wrong. So wrong. We decided to meet at this restaurant Sarah and I used to hang out at back in the day. When we got there, Sarah and I ran at each other and squealed like little girls. The whole reunion hug thing. And Blake just stood there watching us. That's normal for him. He's not a big greeter. But when Sarah looked at Blake, I noticed her expression change immediately. She gave this awkward smile, shook his hand, said a quick hi. Blake just nonchalantly said it was good to meet her. Then she completely ignored him for the rest of the night. Well, almost. So we sit down at the restaurant, and right away, things feel off. Blake looks at the menu, and honestly, he can't find a single meal he'd enjoy. Which, okay, that's not crazy. So he just says he'll be fine with a small appetizer. No big deal, right? But Sarah, she immediately goes, "Why is nothing here good enough for you? Why would you agree to come here if you weren't going to get anything?" And she tried to play it off like a joke, like, "Oh, I'm just teasing." But any person could tell it was not a joke. The tone was cold. I jumped in and defended him, said he could have whatever he liked. It wasn't a big deal. Sarah dropped it, but the damage was done. The rest of dinner, she basically ignored Blake, would only talk to me. And when she did include him, she'd ask questions that only needed one-word answers. "Do you like your food?" "Yes." "Okay then." Just side eyes and awkward silences. I could already tell she didn't like him, but she wasn't being directly rude, you know. It was all these little snide remarks. jabs about how emotionless he was, comments that sounded innocent but absolutely weren't. At one point, she excused herself to the bathroom, and I asked Blake if he was okay. He just said he was fine and wanted me to catch up with my friend. I apologized for how she was acting, and he said he didn't care. He was just happy I was with my friend, which honestly made me feel worse. After dinner, we went for a walk to see the buildings and stores. Sarah seemed cheerier now, which was a relief. And then we saw someone walking a tiny puppy. Oh my God, I love dogs so much. Sarah and I both squealed and started giggling at how cute it was. Blake just stood there watching us, not really reacting. And that's when Sarah snapped. She turned to Blake and her whole face changed. She said, "How the F could you not even smile for a puppy? Are you seriously that soulless?" I was shocked, completely shocked. Before I could even say anything, Blake just shrugged and kept walking. I turned to Sarah and asked what the hell her problem was. She immediately apologized and said she didn't mean to yell, but the damage was done. The walk got super awkward after that. I wanted to just go home. But Sarah had already paid for something else after the walk, and I felt bad, so I thought, okay, just suck it up until it's over. Then I had to use the bathroom. We found a nearby store and I went in. Blake and Sarah waited for me outside. When I came back out, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Sarah was hysterically yelling at Blake, like full-on screaming in public. People were staring. I ran over and asked what the hell was going on. Sarah was in hysterics, tears and everything, and she kept yelling, "It's not going to happen. I will never let this happen." I asked her what she was talking about, and all she said was, "Blake is a sociopath. You need to break up with him, now." I looked at Blake. He was just as shocked as I was. I kept asking both of them what happened, but neither would answer me. That's what scared me the most, the silence. I tried to calm Sarah down, but people were staring, and nothing was making sense. Eventually, I told Blake to walk back to the car so we could go home. I said I'd call an Uber for Sarah. When we were alone, I tried to get Sarah to tell me what happened, but she just stayed completely silent. Blake came back to pick me up, and Sarah just gave him this death stare. He kept his head low. Her Uber came, she left, and the car ride home was painfully silent. So we get home, and I immediately demand to know what happened between them. Blake just stays silent. At this point, I'm irritated with both of them. Like, just tell me what's going on. Finally, Blake says he can't say what happened. He says he's so sorry, but he just can't. And then he says, "I swear I didn't do anything bad. I just can't say." What does that even mean? I was too overwhelmed to keep pushing. So I told him I was sleeping in the guest bedroom. He said he understood, told me he loved me, and went to our room. And here's where it gets weirder. About an hour later, I get a text from Sarah. She says, "I'm really sorry about what happened tonight, but please listen to me. You need to break up with Blake. He is a literal sociopath who is only using you. He doesn't deserve you. I'm telling you this because I love you and want to protect you. Please break up with him." No explanation, just accusations. So now I'm lying in the guest room, completely confused and scared. My best friend is calling my boyfriend a sociopath. My boyfriend won't tell me what happened, and neither of them will give me a straight answer. I don't know what to do. Now, people online started reading this story, and they had some guesses. Right, because the original poster put this on Reddit, and the comments came flooding in. One person said, "Maybe he said something to her about proposing to you. That's why he doesn't want to tell you," and she was screaming that she wasn't going to let that happen. Another person said, "From Sarah's previous reactions, it seems like Blake didn't do anything wrong. She probably asked his intentions, and he may have said marriage. I doubt it was anything bad." Then someone else brought up autism. They said, "Maybe Blake is just autistic, and Sarah feels triggered by that. Is it possible she's traumatized and projecting her fears onto Blake?" And here's the thing, a lot of people noticed something I totally missed. Most of the comments were leaning toward the proposal idea. They were like, "He's going to propose," and she flipped out. "He asked for advice on a ring, and she's not happy about it." I mean, it made sense, right? Why else would Sarah scream, "This engagement will never happen"? But at the time, I was too scared to even consider that. All I knew was that I had two people I loved, and they were both keeping secrets from me. Okay, so here's what actually happened. I spent the next day trying to calm down. I turned off my phone, went for a run, watched some Reddit stories, just tried to clear my head. And I decided I needed to hear Blake out first, without Sarah's version poisoning anything. When Blake came home, I asked if we could talk. I sat him down and started by apologizing. I told him I was sorry for walking away the night before. Sorry for not defending him more during that awful dinner. I told him I loved him, I trusted him, and I would believe whatever he said. And then he finally told me. Blake was planning to propose. When I went to the bathroom that night, he confided in Sarah. He asked her if she could help him pick out an engagement ring. He thought she'd be excited. He thought she'd want to help. Instead, Sarah asked if he was being serious. And when he said yes, she just started screaming. She yelled at him that this engagement would never happen, that he didn't deserve me. That's when I came outside and saw her hysterical. I hugged him so hard, and I apologized again. I asked if that was why he wouldn't tell me. He said yes. He didn't want to ruin the surprise. And then he apologized to me for not just saying what happened. He said it wasn't worth keeping it a secret if it was causing us problems. I told him it wasn't causing problems. Honestly, I loved him even more after that. We hugged it out, made up. And then he asked what Sarah had said in her texts. I admitted I hadn't read them. I was too scared. But then I turned my phone back on, and I honestly wished I hadn't. When Sarah said she wasn't going to let this engagement happen, she really, really meant it, because she had already texted all my friends, my sister, my aunt, even my estranged dad. And she told every single one of them that I was dating a sociopath and refusing to leave him. She involved my dad, you guys. That was a low blow, like we don't even speak anymore. And now, the people who once knew Blake as sweet and loving think he's some kind of crazy person. They're begging me to leave him. I spent the whole night trying to clear the air. But my aunt and some of my friends still believe Sarah, and it's breaking my heart. So yeah, we figured out the mystery. But the damage, that's just beginning. And this is where it gets really messed up. I finally read all the messages, and I honestly wish I hadn't. Sarah didn't just call Blake a sociopath to me. She called him that to everyone. My friends, my sister, my aunt, even my estranged dad, who I haven't spoken to in years because of a whole separate family situation. I don't even know how she got his number. She told all of them that I'm with a dangerous person and that I'm refusing to leave him even though she tried to help. Made herself look like the hero. Made me look like some brainwashed victim. And you know what? Some of them believed her. My aunt is still on Sarah's side. A few of my friends too. They're texting me, begging me to leave Blake. And no matter how much I try to explain what really happened, that Blake was going to propose, that Sarah freaked out for no reason, they won't listen. It's like she got to them first. I mean, who does that? Who lies to someone's entire family just to break them up? I sent Sarah one text. Just one. I told her I couldn't believe she lied to everyone. I said Blake already told me what happened, and I can't even imagine what her version could be. I called her out for involving my dad, and I said, F you disrespected my relationship and my boyfriend. Then I blocked her, but here's the thing that still bothers me. She never told me why she wouldn't just explain what happened. Even in all those messages to my family, she never gave a real reason. Just kept calling him a sociopath. So I still don't know her actual motive. Was she jealous? Did she have some secret crush on me? Was she just that controlling? I have no idea. Blake and I are okay now. He's been incredibly understanding and patient through all of this. But the nightmare isn't over. I still have to figure out how to convince my aunt and my friends that Blake is a good person. Or maybe somehow get Sarah to admit she was lying. Either way, it's going to be a long road. All right, after all that drama, we need a palate cleanser. Seriously. So let me tell you about another Sarah. Different Sarah. Same name, totally different energy. This story comes from a guy back in the late 90s. He was a senior in high school, and he'd already earned enough credits to graduate early. Like, he was done. But he wanted to stay and graduate with his friends, so he loaded up his schedule with a bunch of random classes. Then he dropped a few of them because, why not? And suddenly he had these 3 free periods every day. It was magical, he said. His parents worked, so nobody noticed anything at first, until the answering machine broke. Turns out the school had been calling 3 times a day, every day, to report that he wasn't showing up to some study hall they'd assigned him. And the woman making the calls, her name was Sarah, and she was getting nasty about it. Left nasty messages. Said she was going to personally tank his college applications. So his mom calls the school, explains the situation. His grades are great. He could have already graduated, it's fine. But Sarah won't let it go. She says by law they have to report truancy. And she wants his parents to sign something saying they're being detrimental to his learning and are bad parents. Crazy stuff. So his mom gets an idea. A beautiful, petty idea. She starts playing dumb. Every time Sarah calls for a missed period, 3 times a day, his mom acts like she's not sure if she should allow it. She says things like, let me think. Is it a problem? Well, okay, just this once. But call me if he misses anything else. Knowing full well he was missing 3 periods a day, every day. This went on for 5 months. 5 months of Sarah calling and his mom dragging out each conversation. Until finally, about a month before graduation, they just stopped calling. So yeah, the law let his mom have a lot of fun at Sarah's expense. Gotta love malicious compliance. So that's where things stand. Blake and I are good, but she's still gotta convince her family that he's not some monster. Tough spot. Hey, if you made it this far, you clearly love these wild stories. Watch another one or save it for later. And yeah, don't forget to hit subscribe. More chaos coming your way. Thanks for hanging out.